Thursday. You guys have a quiz like tomorrow on spread of data and outliers. I just pulled some of the questions from the quiz. I made very similar questions. We're gonna go through it together just to help you guys prepare. So the warm-up question says, what does the spread of data mean? And so I have this like little visual down here to help you guys kind of see what we're talking about. And we have two students. We have Connie and we have Oscar. And these are like their grades throughout the semester. And you can see that Connie's highest score right here is like an 86. And her lowest score, which is right here, was like an 82. Whereas Oscar's highest score was much higher, 96. And his lowest score was lower than Connie's, 72. So you guys can see in this visual, like looking at that, Connie's data or Oscar's data is spread out. Okay, it goes from all the way from 72 all the way to 96. All right. The question says, we got to explain what does spread of data mean, and we have to use two of the words listed. So I didn't do a definition for all of the words, but I did most of the words. So just a reminder, we have data. Data is facts, numbers, or information that we collect so we can look for patterns, make comparisons, or answer questions. So examples could be, what is the average height of students on a basketball team? What is the average shoe size of first graders, etc. And then we have variance. Variance is it's a number that shows how spread out the data is from the average. Then we have variability, which is how much the data changes or spreads out. We have spread apart, how far the numbers in the data set are from each other or from the average, and then consistent. So when the numbers in the data set are close to each other and don't change a lot. So you could see Connie's data is very consistent. All right, we would expect if Connie did another assignment, she would score somewhere around from 82 to 86. She's very consistent with that score. Whereas Oscar's not too consistent. So the definition that I came up with was how far apart the numbers are, showing the variability or consistency of the data. All right. Next question. Number 2. What are the 3 measures of variability and how do we find these measures? So, we've gone over 3. The first one we have is range, which is the max minus the min. So we find the maximum number and then we just subtract the minimum number and we get our range. And we also have the IQR, which is the interquartile range. The way we find the interquartile range is we have to do the Q3 minus Q1. Now, in order to find the IQR, we'd have to, do the 5 number summary. So we would need, we'd have to find the min, we'd have to find the max, we'd have to find the median, and then Q3 and Q1. And then last one was standard deviation, also known as AKA SD, or there's this little symbol. This is a reminder, the bigger the number equals greater variance. All right, so we have a very big range, there's bigger variance. With a smaller number, there's smaller variance, right? So now I have just a couple questions, kind of very similar to the questions that you're going to have in your quiz tomorrow. It says, this dude Jordan, he is deciding where to move for college and looked up the daily high temperatures from the past 2 weeks for Boston and Phoenix. Which city shows less variability in temperature? So Jordan's like, dude, I want to go to a place that's like steady Eddie. Okay, the temperatures don't fluctuate too much. I don't have to buy a lot of clothes. Like I can just, for the most part, wear the same thing. I'm not going to be sweating a lot, or I'm not going to be too cold. All right. So let's look at the data. We have to choose from these different types of measures. So we can either use, like we said above in question 2, we have the range, we have the IQR, or we have the standard deviation. For me, I think the easiest one is just to find the range. All we have to do is just identify what the maximum number is and then subtract the minimum number. So if we're looking at Boston's biggest number, the highest temperature for Boston is 74. So that's our max. And then the smallest number for Boston is, where is it? 65. That's our min for Boston. And if we wanted to find the range for Boston, we would have to just do, let me make a little note over here in a different color. Boston. We'd have to do the max minus the min, which would be 74 minus 65, which gives us a range of 9. Phoenix is hot. Look at those temperatures. Same thing. We're going to have to find the maximum number. Phoenix gets all the way to 108, dude. That's crazy, man. It's hotter than Florida. And then our smallest number for Phoenix is 95? Yeah, 95. So, let's do Phoenix. Phoenix is 108 minus 95. Look at this. So that has a range of 13. So Phoenix has a larger range. So Jordan should probably select Boston. Boston is the winner. And then the last question we're going to go over is outliers and determining if something is an outlier. So we have 12 students in the art club, and they sold bracelets to raise money for art supplies. The table shows how many each student sold. So we have the number of bracelets sold from these 12 students. So question A says, do you see any numbers that might be outliers? Explain your reasoning without doing any calculations. Well, I would say that, maybe 60? I don't know, it's a pretty big number. And then I would just say like, it 60 is, well, let me write that differently. 60 is way bigger than the other numbers. And then it says, use the outlier formula, which we have here, and the 5-number summary to check if your prediction was correct. All right, so I chose 60. So we're going to do the upper bound. Why are we doing the upper bound, you may ask? Because 60 is, it's the bigger number. So if we're looking at a number line, it's going to be farther to the right. It's an upper limit. We have this formula. So, and we also have the 5-number summary. So we know what our Q3 is. Our Q3 is 19.5. So let's use our formula. We're going to do 19.5. I'm pulling this. This is all coming over here. Plus 1.5 times the IQR. And what's my IQR? What's my interquartile range? Well, they didn't give it to us. We got to calculate it. So the IQR is 19.5 minus 11. Let me do some quick calculations. 19.5 minus 11 equals 8.5. All right, let me put in my calculator. 19.5 plus 1.5 times 8.5 equals 32.5. All right, so we have this number. What does this number tell us? What does it mean? So 32.5 is that upper limit. Anything bigger than 32.5 is an outlier. So was our prediction correct? Yes. So you would just write, yes, 60 is an outlier. And this is the important part, because it is bigger than the upper bound. It is bigger than the UB. All right, that's it. Good luck, everybody. Study, please.